Well, we're talking today with Dr. Karen Wingfield and Dr. Irene Gobriel about emerging diseases and medical conditions that in this time of coronavirus may be under-recognized. Now, we're talking a little bit, and we've talked a little bit earlier about multiple myeloma. What is it and why should we be concerned? Dr. Gobriel?
Yeah, so multiple myeloma is a cancer of the blood cells, of plasma cells, which are the B cells, your immune cells, and they live in the bone marrow, and then they secrete antibodies that are supposed to fight infection, but instead of fighting infection, they're just going around and making your kidneys not work well, or in the bone marrow, all those cancer cells grow and cause anemia. Interestingly, multiple myeloma happens earlier with something called monoclonal gammopathy of undetermined significance, big long name, which means that many of us develop that early precursor condition. And then as we get older and as it grows, then we can develop multiple myeloma. And I think that's important to know that every single patient who had myeloma must have had MGUS, and we did not diagnose it because we don't go looking for it.
Well, how do you discover it?
Yeah, so it's a great question. We can find it in the blood, a simple blood test. And the reason why I think that's important is we screen for breast cancer, we screen for colon cancer, yet for a simple blood test, which I can tell you much easier than a mammogram or a colonoscopy, we don't screen for blood cancers. And when we think of high-risk people, people who are at risk of myeloma, meaning if you are a Black American, or if you are a first-degree relative of someone who has blood cancer, you are at a much higher risk of developing it. Yet we don't go looking for it because people say, well, let's wait until they have symptoms. Let's wait until they have fractures or anemia or kidney failure. And I think if we're going to change one thing to change the survival of myeloma, we should screen early, detect it, and treat it early. And that's the hope that we have in the PROMISE study.
Well, I think again, Dr. Wingfield, I asked, we talk about it is a blood cancer. So how is it really different from a solid tumor like prostate or breast?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because it's a blood cancer, it actually has the ability to circulate. So while Dr. Gobriel talked about the fact that multiple myeloma likes to live in the bone, it starts in the bone. Certainly it can be in soft tissues as well, but it can be everywhere in the body. So the treatment of multiple myeloma is different from what we have for many solid tumors in the sense that the primary treatment is going to be systemic therapy. So chemotherapy or other targeted agents, unlike a prostate cancer, where surgery might be an option or radiation therapy might be an option, right? Where it's local and, that's where you're focusing and that's how you can cure cancers. What's really important to remember is that many of those solid tumors, if you think of breast and prostate cancer, there's over 200,000 cases every year, but we are curing many of those.
Right.
So if you're starting out with 200,000 cases and you might have about 30,000 deaths annually. And again, we are not, anyone who dies from cancer, we need to do better, right? But multiple myeloma, where you might have 30,000 cases every year, 12,000 of those individuals are going to die, right? So we have work to do. And we've done a good job, I tell you, and Dr. Gobriel will remember probably before we had bortezomib, which is one of the medicines that people with multiple myeloma have, people were dying in about 5 years after diagnosis. Now people are living much, much longer, 8, 10, 12, 15 years with a diagnosis of multiple myeloma. We've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go.
Now, again, with the cancers you've talked about, again, with both breast and prostate, colorectal, there are certain diagnostic tests or biomarkers, mammograms, PSA tests, DREs, whatever, that can give an early warning. But as you said, even though you can detect it with multiple myeloma with a simple blood test, why is not it being done? I mean, I remember before I was diagnosed with my prostate cancer, I had to ask my doctor, we'll do a PSA test. I hear that, I'm at risk. He said, well, you can wait a couple of years. It's not a problem. I said, look, you got the needle in my arm, just another vial, just draw it while you're there. What can we do, to protect ourselves, be preventive in saying, all right, if I'm going to get a blood test, stick another vial in there and just test it.
Yeah. And I agree with you, and I think that's our mission. So we started a study to ask the question, can we screen early, which is exactly what you're saying, because the standard of care is we don't screen. And just remember, this is a simple blood test to look for the antibodies, serum protein electrophoresis and serum free light chain. Very simple, cheap, easy. We can even do something else called mass spectrometry, which is giving us a much more sensitive way of detecting it. If you look at the general population over the age of 50, 3% to 5% of the population would have this MGUS. However, when we did the study, when we started the PROMISE study, which is a screening study for high-risk individuals, and we specifically said 2 criteria: either you're African or Black, or your first-degree relative of someone who has a blood cancer, we found that our rate is 10%, almost 11%. That's huge. If I would look at this as a screening study, probably everyone should say, let's test those high-risk individuals. Let's give them the opportunity to know early that they have the disease, because we can make a difference. And we're hoping that indeed we can change that we can change insurance coverage, we can change the standard of care, that people should be screened. And I think that's one of the missions we have right now.
Well, you've mentioned the PROMISE study as a potential tool. Tell us more about that. What is the PROMISE study?
So the PROMISE study was started with help from Stand Up to Cancer, with the idea that let's screen high-risk individuals. And if we find it early, then we will follow those people who have this early precursor, MGUS and smoldering myeloma, and actually help them through the care. So it was a 2-step process. We will screen by mass spectrometry. It's nationwide. You just go online and say promisestudy.org. Click and see if you're eligible. You sign up, we send you a kit at home, and you get tested, and we give you back the results. But the whole idea was, we don't just screen you and leave you. We screen, and if you are positive, we will do the care, which we're calling now myeloma care. We will call you, explain to you what it is, and if you have high risk, we will work through making sure that you are treated or taken care of. And now with COVID, one of the great things that we're doing is we can do telemedicine. So I'm actually seeing everyone online, whether they live in Georgia or live in Alaska. We could potentially see them and talk to them and explain to them what MGUS is. And in many cases, you don't need any treatment. You just need close observation, seeing you once a year, making sure we never lose track of you and you never develop myeloma. The whole idea is you never develop a lesion or anemia or renal failure in your lifetime.
So it's comparable to active surveillance in prostate cancer, for example.
Yes,
Correct.
exactly. And so Virgil, part of the challenge with screening exams is, they always talk about the number needed to treat, right? So how many people do you need to screen in order to find a positive case? We know that, for instance, for breast cancer, 1 in 8 women are going to be diagnosed with breast cancer. It might even be 1 in 7, I think, in Black women. And so we know that there is good efficacy for screening everyone in the population. The beautiful thing about the PROMISE study is what it's doing is it's actually taking those individuals who are at highest risk for developing the disease and really showing proof of principle that not only, that by screening and identifying precursor conditions, that we can really start to understand some of those molecular signs of progression of myeloma. And then potentially, again, the goal is to develop therapies that will make multiple myeloma eventually a preventable disease, right? The reason for screening is to catch things early. The reason why we recommend colorectal cancer screening is because if we find a polyp, we can have just prevented cancer, right? A polyp can be removed. It may not even be cancerous, but then you can prevent cancer. The same thing with the precursor lesion, MGUS. If we can find and identify it, we may actually be able to, at some point, figure out if there's a way to treat MGUS so that we prevent the cancer. That's the goal.
Now, you talked a little bit about the incidence rate around 50, 55. Is that the primary age range when we should be concerned, or should we be doing testing earlier to try to find the lesion?
Yeah, so in general, when we diagnose patients with myeloma, the median age is around 60, 65. We know that likely they started MGUS 20 to 30 years before that. So we are screening at age 40, but we know that actually African Americans have an incidence of developing it at a younger age. So potentially we may need to look at age 30, not age 40, for understanding when does MGUS start and how can we catch it early. And that's young. We want to make sure we get our patients early so that we can make a difference and they never develop myeloma. Just like Karen said, can we prevent myeloma from happening?
Which I think is fantastic. Now, one of the things I was wanting to check, you talked about the insurance. What's the cost of the test normally? Is it very expensive or not?
So the PROMISE study is doing it for free, which is wonderful. We are covering it. And we're actually giving now an incentive for people because we know, especially with COVID, it's hard to go to a Quest diagnostic with the tubes in your hand to say, please draw my blood. So we are doing a $50 incentive to help people cover their time and effort. And then once they are diagnosed, we work with them very closely. We make sure they get insurance coverage if they don't have it. We do that extra effort to make sure you are not just diagnosed and left alone. You are taken care of throughout the journey.
Fantastic. Well, Dr. Gabriel, Dr. Vinkul, we appreciate your talking to us, and we're going to be talking to you again in the future. Count on it. Thank you again.